Hey, film fans, we're the Merco Movie Guys. I'm Clint Schaffer, and this is my buddy Chad Weeks.
And we're a couple guys who like movies and like to talk about movies. Clint, who are we going to talk about tonight, or talk to tonight? Sorry.
Chad, this is an incredibly exciting show because we have the CEO of Game Refuge and also the creator of the Rampage franchise, Mr. Brian Colin.
Would you consider Brian, is he a founding father of the gaming industry?
I mean, if you go back to, it probably depends on where you put the beginning of the gaming industry, right? Because he kind of came in, kind of halfway through the arcades, aspect, but right at the beginning of, when consoles really took off. Now, somebody's going to argue with me about Ataris and things of that nature, but the video game consoles started with the NES.
Totally
Like
agree.
we just got to land there.
Yep.
That's when it became popular, mainstream, and he was right in that wheelhouse. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Tron. We're going to talk a little bit about Rampage. Those are two games right there in themselves that are just iconic, right? I mean, they have a movie franchise they have movies built off of them. Tron like 10 now, I think, or something like that. So, and then you've got Rampage starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So like not many movies have that type of.
Well, the other thing, if you think about it, both you and I were Sega Genesis guys.
Yeah,
right.
Correct.
How many games do you remember that had the midway splash at the very beginning of that game?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you think about how many games that, of course, it's Bali's Midway, but if you remember the midway opening piece that would splash up, I would have to like fire up my Genesis, but I'll bet you over half my games are probably midway games.
Boy, honestly, I want to fire up my Genesis though. Like now that you're talking about that, like, I mean, I'm probably not going to go and play Rampage right now, but like, I'm thinking that after this interview, maybe I'll go play Primal Rage or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I'm just the opposite. I want to go play me some Rampage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I want to go knock some buildings down.
Yeah, for sure. I dig it.
But all right, well, grab your popcorn,
fill up your drinks,
and enjoy the show. Brian, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. How about you introduce yourself to the audience here?
All right, then. My name is Brian Colin. I am probably best known as the creator of Rampage. I'm a international award-winning animated cartoonist. I am a video game designer. I've been designing and creating art and animation for video games for 42 years. You can interrupt me at any time because I'll just keep going on and on.
Well, I guess the big thing that I'd like to start out with is how did you come up? How did you decide to get into gaming, creating games, all of this stuff? Like where did the idea of Rampage come from? I guess is what I should say. How did that start?
All right, which question you want me to answer? How did I get into it, or where did Rampage come from? I'm going to tell you how I got into it first. Okay.
Yes, perfect.
I fell backwards into it. I went to school for film. I did a lot of films in high school, won awards. And then in college, when it cost money, because it was film back then, your lead actress drops out halfway through the film. Okay, so I did an animated film because I could draw. And I was putting myself through school, doing ads for bars and stuff like that, getting paid in beer and popcorn mostly. And I saw an ad out of college. I saw an ad for Bally Midway Pinball Company needed an animator. And I thought, what would they need? Oh, pinball. They need somebody to paint back glasses, and animators paint cells. So I applied, and they said, no, we saw your international award-winning film, animated film that I did because I had to do it myself because people were dropping out on me during college. And they said, no, we want you to do art for video games. And I thought, heck, man, really? You need an animator for that?
Yeah.
Kept a smile on my face. Said, oh, that'd be great. And then I got a call and said, okay, you got the job. And I was at a wedding with friends around me, and I got the call, and they're going to pay me real money, like $13,000 a year. And I tried to make a joke out of it. I accepted the job, and I turned to my friends and I said, okay, that's it. Childhood's over. I got a real job. And I choked up. I really,
Yeah.
and after 1 week there, I knew I was working on Discs of Tron was the first game the game they hired me for as an animator. And I knew I had fallen into the best thing that it could have ever happened to me. It's never been anything like a real job. And childhood is still going on for me. So it's been wonderful. So that's how I got into the industry. It wasn't a planned thing. It just happened to me. I've been very lucky. I've been blessed.
That's
So
incredible.
Brian, just hearing that, I mean, this is just to give our listeners an understanding of the time of this. I mean, this is fairly early on in video game history here as well. I mean, this is kind of at the cusp of a lot of video games.
1982.
82, yeah.
1982 this happened. I'd been out of college for a couple of years, and it was, and the beauty of it is I fell backwards into this. It was pure creation. It was the Wild West for Bally Midway because they had just started the development company not too long before I joined it, and and we weren't in the main factory, so it was a bunch of kids basically, looking at each other, going, "Can we do this? Who's going to stop us?" It was a wonderful, wonderful time. And animators like me got to work on every project in the office. So you're working with this programmer on this thing, and this programmer and on this thing, and a couple animators on this one, and everybody was helping everyone else. It was really a wonderful experience. Those early years were 3 guys to do a game. Rampage took 3 people. I mean, the design group initially was 4 of us in a room, but I mean, the actual game, the physical game, was done by 3 people. Now, of course, there's all the people that did all the hardware and all the other stuff, but the actual video game was a sound programmer, a game programmer, and an animator.
Was this Bally and Midway's first entrance into like arcade games at that point in time? Because you mentioned like pinball machines is kind of what they've been known for, right?
For that, and then they bought, and then video games were starting up in the late '70s, and they bought Pac-Man from a Japanese country, and they bought Pac-Man, and that exploded for them. It made them a ton of money, and so they tried to. They said, well, we've got to start our own development group. And they did Tron, was their first game. And Discs of Tron was supposed to be one of the games inside Tron, but the programmer, a guy named Bob Dinnerman, was a perfectionist. And he was not going to let it go out the door before he felt it was ready. And I was lucky enough to work with him. So while I'm learning how to do this, he was a perfectionist, but he was also very open to suggestion. So I am doing exactly what he's asking for, and he's like, no, that's a circle. It needs 2 more pixels up here to make it. And if you remember the environmental Discs of Tron, it was a fake 3D through a silver mirror. It was a total 3D effect, which I had no idea that video games could do anything like that. And instead of film animation where I'm drawing for weeks and filming for nights and sending the film off and getting it back, and then you see the mistake and you got to start all over again, I'm doing something in the morning and I'm playing it in the afternoon. It was, like I say, it was incredible. It was an incredible time.
So did you know that like this was did you know like the importance of what you were doing at that point in time? Like, I mean, just looking back, like you've just thrown out a couple like key video games that started this madness, right? I mean, to be truthful, after this podcast, I'm going to go up and video game, right? Like it's still going, right? And I mean, it's just, did you know that you were a part of this at the time?
No, I was never a follower of the video game industry. Like I said, I fell backwards into it. I was in a place where, since management was leaving us alone then at that time, we were out of the main office, so they didn't come by much. And we were all just kind of very peer-to-peer, helping each other out. There was a game that was failing out on test. the beauty of the arcade world was it was how many quarters it got. So they had a game out on test that wasn't earning enough, and I said, well, the game mechanic is pretty cool, but it's kind of a boring Galaxian sort of space game. I'm going to do a little cute cartoon character. A week later, and I'd only been there a few months. I reskinned the game. They let me reskin the game, turned it over. The game went out, made more money, and it got released. And then they put that character, Cosmic Cruiser, into games like Wacko and other stuff like that. And all I knew was, I mean, we were at the center of the universe. There was Williams, our big competitor, on the other side of the city. And we were here, and I had no idea where we were in this world. I had no idea that we were kind of the American center. I knew what I was doing every day was fun and giving me creative challenges, which you say you can't do this, we're going to figure out a way to do this. You won't give us more money for more art or more this, or won't you? I'll figure out a way. And even though I wasn't a programmer, working with all the different programmers, I picked up enough from each one to go, how come nobody's tried this before? And bits and pieces over, just a couple of years, this first couple of years, working on many, many games that are still out there in the world, and then some that kind of revolutionized the industry.
Absolutely.
So a couple questions off that. Like, I guess, first off, how old were you at this? You said you just been out of college. So, like, you're literally working on Tron at, like, 23 years old or 24, something like that?
Something like that.
That's crazy to me. That is crazy.
Oh, yeah. It was, and again, I don't do math. I'm not a programmer. So I don't know how old I was. It was 42 years ago. 82 is when I started. I think I got out of college at 80. So.
What was this, Silicon Valley?
No,
is that where
this is Chicago.
That's what he says he's central, so he's got to be in Chicago.
Yet they were working. They had just started doing home games out there. They were buying my games and doing ports of them so that they would have enough content. Let's talk Rampage. Coming up with Rampage, everybody has a different. Why did you do this? Is that good? Rampage was me. I came up with a way we couldn't. They wouldn't pay for scrolling hardware. It was kind of a one-off on Spy Hunter, but they wouldn't do it again. And I did a game called Sarge with a programmer named Jeff Nauman, and I'm like, we can't do anything. I'm going to figure out how we can scroll, make it fake of the scroll just by moving the background block. Okay, we did that.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to do big characters, and they let me design a game for the first time called Zwackery, and I did big characters, but I wanted to do animating backgrounds after that. And I was in a meeting with 3 other people, and the one guy who had been there the longest was like, Brian, they're not going to pay for it. You can't do Brian. But I want animating backgrounds. I want big characters, animating backgrounds. Now, Brian, fine. You can move the background block. Like you can. That's all you can do. What are you going to do with a moving background block? So I looked at Sharon, the animator who put the bow on Ms. Pac-Man. And I said, okay. So a section of the screen, you can move a rectangle is what they said. Section of the screen, we just take a section. A moving rectangle is just slamming it down into itself, scrolling it down into itself. That's a building, is a rectangle. A moving rectangle, we cover up the front with a little dust, and what knocks down buildings but big monsters? We knew at that instant. I ran and got Jeff now and I said, Jeff, can we do this? And I described it. He's like, yes. And we immediately wrote it up. First line of the design document I wrote said, the story of Rampage, or why this is next year's #1 game. We went to our boss and he said no.
So, really?
And Jeff and I started on it anyway, just because I wanted to prove that we could do this with the hardware. And then, so I went over my boss's head of engineering. He loved it. He laughed. Oh, this would be hysterical. Great. So we can do it. No. Top 3 guys in this country. You can't be the bad guy. You can't eat policemen. You can't eat people. I said, no, they're not the bad guy. They didn't ask to be turned into monsters. It's this horrible environmental thing. It's very, 70s environment.
Yeah.
Big cities are bad. And he said, no, the top 3 guys will never go for this. And, it's like that. And I knocked on several doors and was told, no. And just by pure coincidence, the top 3 guys were fired 2 weeks later.
Oh wow.
And a new guy came in. He sent a memo around. He said, "No, my name is Maury Furchin. I'm from a retailer." I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Montgomery Wards.
Oh yeah.
He was the head
Know
of
of it.
Montgomery Wards, and he took this job from Bally to run Bally Midway. And he sent around a memo saying, everybody's job is safe. It's just an upper management change. I've got an open door policy, and you can guess who was waiting outside his door with my back up against it, sitting on the floor on the very first day. And he loved it. He loved the game. He said okay, and if it hadn't been for him, it wouldn't have got done.
Yeah.
But we had to fight for it, and it went on to break every earnings records of the day. It was the highest earning video game of all time when it was released. And it was the first game where I'd been doing the animation for a few years now on games, but it was the first game where they let me do the cabinet art too. So
Oh,
really?
yeah, so it was like, oh, this is perfect. So Rampage is always going to be my baby.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question on like the cabinet art on that side of it, because a lot of video games, similar to like pinball machines, right? Like the art is what captivates you to walk over to put your coins in, right?
Right.
Does that change at all over time, like over the course of a few years? And do you ever give it a refresh or anything of that nature?
The arcade industry was, and short answer, no. Like up until they let me do Rampage, and then I did all my other games after that. Xenophobe and Arch Rivals and Pigskin. I always do the cabinet art after that. But the pinball department was kept separate from us, and security was very tight. But they always did the art for the video games until I did Rampage, and then they let me do my games. But generally speaking, arcade games were put out on test. How much money do they make? We're going to sell them to whatever operators that want them, and once they're done, they're done. So I've had games that have had 200 games done, and I've had games that have had thousands done. But once they're done, they're done. And once they're out there in the world, the art doesn't get changed or updated unless in today's society, now that arcades are coming back in a sort of way, the free play arcades, a lot are coming back. People will do custom art for them and refresh them that way. But back in the day, Bally didn't do anything new, except when my games would get ported to like home systems, whether they're Atari or wherever, by different companies. Bally was really nice about sending me copies. So I always loved seeing, okay, here's Rampage. Oh, I love this cover art. That was always fun for me, just to see what other people would do with my art or my game.
Speaking of what people would do with your art, let's talk about your movie, the movie Rampage. I know this wasn't necessarily your thing, but it was your foundation for it. So how did that? And I think you told me once you were supposed to do a cameo, but it didn't work out or something like that in the game or in the movie. I mean,
a cameo was in the film. I got calls from friends who were in
oh really
in LA who said, "Oh, we've seen a test video," and that at the end of the movie when the Willis Tower, Chicago, is coming down, you are running away and your face is 15 feet big. Because I spent a whole afternoon. I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's all right. Go ahead.
I first heard they were making a movie, I contacted Warner Brothers, who now own the rights because they bought.
Yep.
Williams bought Bally Midway, and I went to work for Williams Bally Midway, and then formed my own company shortly after that. But see, I'm wandering all over the place. The movie, we're talking about the movie. Warner Brothers, I wrote them and they said kind of very politely, don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah.
Needing background on this. And several years later, I saw The Rock attached and it's like, oh, that looks cool. It might really get done now. And then I saw they were shooting in Chicago and someone reached out to me who was the casting director in Chicago, said, I understand you designed the game, you want to be in it. And it's like, oh, it don't get any better than this, right? So I'm running around in like 99 degrees, 99% humidity when they're filming in Chicago in a wool business suit as a little extra in the background. And I could point out where I am at in the film. And then the assistant director came up and said, you designed the game. Can we do a cameo? Oh, okay, it doesn't get any better than that. And I spent the day running away from the Sears Tower, and they were filming it, and it was great. And then a few weeks after that, I get a call from the producer, one of the producers of the film, who said, "Hey, and I know who you are." He says, "Well, I know who you are." He said, "You're the designer of the game." And for a lot of years, the legal department suggested I not contact you. I'm guessing maybe they thought I would ask for money. He said, but now they can't stop me because you're one of my extras and you work for me. So
Yeah.
I come down and come to the studio and be there during the last week of shooting. So that was my involvement, not anything to do with the film other than, I got to meet everybody. They were all great. They were wonderful. And yes, it is true. The Rock is the nicest guy you will ever meet, except when you're standing next to him, he's 300 feet tall.
Yeah, I bet. I can imagine it.
And then I had friends when the film was coming out say, yeah, you're out here. You're the test. I've seen test screening, several of them. It's like, this is cool. And I got to go to the premiere in LA, and I'm sitting there sitting there with my wife going, okay, hon, okay, here it comes. Hey.
And they cut it.
After party, the producer came up to me right as I walked in and said, I'm really sorry, but Warner Brothers came out 3 weeks ago and cut about 30 minutes out, and you ended up on the cutting room floor.
Oh, man.
I've actually seen it. I do have I've seen footage of people filming me doing it, but I've never
So they never even showed you? They've never showed you at all? Like the producer said, hey, here's at least your video of you doing that. Or something.
I didn't think to ask for it at that time. I probably should. Maybe it's still sitting somewhere, but I hoping it'd be on the DVD. And they did interview me on the DVD, so that was cool. But on the special extras or whatever. But yeah, I was really happy with the way the film came out because they kept the heart in George. Because to me, the monsters really were the victims, and they made George just human enough that that made the movie for me.
I was gonna say, like, when you were standing next to The Rock, did you feel like you were standing next to George in real life? I mean, this giant of a human. So
he was like I say, he was great. He was. There's some stories I shouldn't tell, but anyway, he was really great to me. And he was telling me he was working hard. It's like, Brian, I'm working harder on your film. It's like, stop! It's not my film. It's your film. And he made it public that he used to ditch school as a kid to play the game. So it felt great. It really felt great.
I was going to ask that, like, just talk about the emotion that you go from creating not only a game, creating a franchise, the Rampage franchise, and then watching that hit a blockbuster movie. Like, what's the emotion that you have in that like you were the key part of this,
aside from the sadness when your part was cut out? But
that was nice to see. But until just a few years ago, when I started doing shows, events, and being asked to events, I pretty much assumed that no one remembered my games other than the kids in my neighborhood who would come to my basement and play the arcade games I pulled out of the back door at Valley Midway. So, and Doc Mack of the Galloping Ghost Arcade, ostensibly the world's largest arcade in Chicago here, said, no, Brian, you got to start coming to shows. And he started taking me to shows. And emotion-wise, seeing adults, maybe grandparents, playing with their daughter, who's holding his granddaughter in her arm while she's playing with her oldest son. I can't even begin to tell you how good that feels. Seeing people still play my games, people still getting excited about it. The movie, for obvious reasons, And then the fact that I got to go down and visit in the studio, and my wife and I got, I mean, as we know, our children and their births and our wedding are the high point of your life.
For sure.
That's between us, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Clint usually asks this, but I feel like you kind of did there. He asks a lot of people that we meet about, like, when did you know you made it type of thing. And so yours didn't come until way late, knowing that you had this impact. You didn't realize that you had this impact on people until that late. Is that really the way you felt about it?
In terms of, like I said, I've been very lucky. I've been blessed.
Yeah.
I fell into this. When I came in, it wasn't like it is today, where you've got 300 people and producer, middle management. I was in it at a day where all I had to do was say, "Hey, why don't we do this?" And somebody, or I would hit the right person and the right buttons, and we would do it. And so I have always felt very rewarded personally about what I got to do and the life I was living. I didn't make a ton of money. I didn't own the rights, but I fed my family and I paid for my house, and it's been a great life. Emotionally, the difference, like you're asking about when you say made it. So I've been very lucky. I made it from the day I fell into it.
Yeah, for sure.
But emotionally, 35 years later, seeing that people still remembered, that was the point where it's like, okay, this has come full circle. This is wonderful. This is just wonderful.
That is awesome.
That is
I
cool.
do have a question though. That this has been on my mind when I knew that we were going to get to chat with you here, because again, I'm a big video game enthusiast here. At 82, that is like 3 years before the NES comes out to everybody's houses, which of course that was in itself revolutionary.
Absolutely.
Like the first, like, I know Atari was out there, don't get me wrong, but NES is like the first big, in everybody's household at this point in time, right? What was the environment in Bally Midway of watching this transition from like arcades to the arcade is in everybody's house now, and that's where we're going to have to put our focus? Like, what was the environment like on that, Brian?
I didn't know where I was in the history of arcade until like 10, 20 years later. But at that time, even when I was hired, there are some people that study this history will tell me I was hired at the point when arcades were going down. I don't know, because all my games, not all my games, but a lot of my games were hits that made a lot of money that have stuck around for 30, 40 years. But at that time, the management feeling was, I'd have to say they were terrified. They didn't show it to us, but we got orders. Don't make a game that can be played on from up top, from the three guys that eventually got fired. Don't make a game that can be played on a home system. And it's like, why not?
Oh, wow.
Well, because it's like you're selling them the license. It's like you're making money. It's like, I even said to management a couple times, like, don't think of an arcade game as a loss leader at a record company. Yeah. You're going to make money on the licensing side if you do the right contracts, but they were pretty much terrified by it. And I got to believe they were, because we were told, no. I mean, that's why some of the games like Discs of Tron, there's a knob and a joystick and buttons and this and knob up and knob down. Make it so it can't. A lot of my earliest games, especially, can't. I mean, you can get MAME versions, but if you don't have a knob that you can pull up and down and a trigger with a joystick and buttons on the back, you can't play it as a MAME game. So I had to feel like they were worried. I didn't really put it together back then because I was making games and they were making money, so I was happy.
Did it have it to where like you would think about video games differently? Is General Chaos is one of your games, right?
Right.
And wasn't that started as like a 2-player game for arcade, yet then when it got to home console, it expanded? Is that right?
No. General Chaos was its own baby. After Arch Rivals, I'd been wanting to do a 2-player. I liked the idea of games where the player was controlling multiple characters. And I had actually done a couple that ended up not going into production for various reasons. But one day, Jeff Nauman the guy I did Rampage with, he came up and he said, "I've got it. Controlling multiple characters, Brian. I've got the perfect thing." And he threw this airline barf bag down on my table, which had some scribbles on it. And he's like, "We'll do a basketball game, and it will be, you can do this, and you can call for a pass, and you can, they can pass you controlling 2 characters on a team, and it's like, and you can do a pick and roll, and you can." And I'm like, "Jeff, stop. You're 6'2". I'm 5'8". It's like, and our players out there, every basketball player in the world is going to love this because they're actual basketball strategies we can do now. But we need to make more money than just the basketball players who go to the arcade, because how many of those are there? They're out there playing basketball." I said, "Now, if there's something we could do," and that's where Arch Rivals came from, is it was a game where personal fouls was the big part of the game. You could punch the guy in the face, you could pull his pants down, you could tackle him. And it was 3 months away from being done at Bally Midway when we were bought out by our biggest competitor, Williams Electronics, who fired everybody except me and Jeff. And they let us finish Arch Rivals at the new Bally Midway Williams, who then changed their name to Midway. And that game made so much money in sales, it paid for the buyout. So basically, they got Bally Midway for free because of Arch Rivals. And then we did another game for them called Pigskin, where you were controlling 6 characters, and it was like no rules rugby, where you had torches and battle axes and everything else. And that game did pretty well. And then EA contacted me and wanted me to come work for them, but I did not want to move to California. I had an acre here in Illinois. I couldn't afford that out there. We went back and forth for about a year, about 9 months, and finally they said, "What if we give you the money to start your own company?"
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Jeff and I left Midway on good terms, and went out there and we pitched them a game. Again, that was General Chaos. That was, each player has 5 guys. They all have different weapons. It's you go here, you go here. It was a real-time strategy game, which the type of board game I would play as a teenager back when there was 3,000 little cardboard pieces you had to punch out, and they'd take hours and days to play. I wanted to play something where you got right to the battle. That was General Chaos. And it was the highest earning original non-licensed title EA had that year. And they created Sega created the 4-player adapter for that game. So
that's what I was going to say.
General Chaos came from.
That was like the first of its kind, though, right? To allow that many people and that many characters that you're controlling, like that had never been done in video games before, right?
To the best of my knowledge, it's been called, I think Chris Bieniek from Video Games Magazine called it the first and funniest real-time strategy game.
Wow.
And for all of my games were about laughter. That's what I would make films about, was to make people laugh. But I found George Gomez, a great pinball designer, great video game designer, from Bally Midway, said it best. He's like, "We've got 2 customers, the operator who's paying for the game and the player. And the operator wants the player off in 30 seconds and the player wants to live forever.
Yeah.
We got to make them both happy."
Yeah.
That was the strange magic of the arcade world. And
I have never thought about it like that. The operator actually wants them off of that machine.
I mean, the operator's paying thousands of dollars for this, and he wants his money back as quick as he can. And the player wants to live forever.
Wow.
And I have to make them both happy. So with games like Rampage and Arch Rivals, and I could tell you all the things we did, but you've got to get that second quarter. And the best way to get that is the players got to laugh when I'm dying. So we didn't kill people at Rampage. If you remember, the monsters turned back into the little humans who were naked and would crawl off the screen. And from a money aspect, you could keep your points if you put in a quarter before they got off the screen. So that was planned to get money. And what wasn't planned, but what was even better, than other players are going, John, he's, get him before he gets off the screen. So it became this race to get the quarter in. And so that kind of attitude is why I always felt and a lot of my games that did very well were all about laughter. Even when the player's got to die or got to get knocked out, he's got to be laughing about it. And that was General Chaos as well. General Chaos was a fighting game inside a real-time strategy game, and you're laughing the whole time. And we're doing plug time. I'm sorry, plug.
No, go ahead. Go.
We're doing a sequel. We started it several
I've heard
times.
it.
COVID had a problem with it, and cancer had a problem with it. But this time we didn't announce when we were going to do it. So we're about 3/4 of the way through it. And we're going to be doing a crowdfunder here in the weeks to come, hopefully, if I get it wrapped up soon, to get us all we've been working remotely now for a while. We've come this far. I'm in my basement now with my grandkids upstairs most days. We're going to move everybody into an office so we can finish up this game before I turn 80. Okay, so that's my plug for General Chaos 2 Major Snafu. Look for it. We'll be making announcements here very soon about it. End of plug. Okay.
Yeah.
Where will folks, like, where do you see them playing this on? Like, what is the
first?
It'll be a what?
It's going to be a PC game first.
Okay, gotcha.
It's going to be multiplayer, single player. We're going to even have a couch co-op for the people that still want to see play it the old way, sitting next to each other. But it'll be multiplayer, internet, PC game. It's going to do everything we couldn't do on a Sega Genesis. You can use a Xbox controller. You can use keypad, mouse, and you might even be able to use it a touchscreen if you have one at home. So you go here. We're having a lot of fun with it. We're having a lot of laughs. I just want to get it done sooner rather than later. So we're going to do this crowdfunder to get everybody, because we got people that working part-time on it too, because we don't have an office. The cardboard stand-ups notwithstanding, this basement isn't big enough to bring everybody in. So we
Yeah. Well, when you do get the crowdfunder going, we'll reshare this video and add that link to it so we can make sure that we get there. And then hopefully that will inspire you to get it on PS5 or something like that soon, so that Clint and I can sit on the couch over here and play it and have a good time.
I recently did an arcade game with a couple of years ago, because I still occasionally do arcade games. Just moved into the area, and he's got a lot of experience doing. He's done several games for console systems that I know nothing about. I don't ever care about how they're done. I just want to know what's going on. And he's been expressing interest in helping us with that. So we'll see where the first one goes, and if that goes anywhere, it'll be everywhere.
That is awesome. Well, I cannot wait to see that. Let us know where the crowdfunder is. Chad and I, the Merco Movie Guys, may throw in on this. So, let us know.
Hey, I absolutely will.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we're just about at time here, but I did want to ask you a couple questions. Something that I always ask all of our guests here. You talked about it, you being a film guy, so this should be a good one for you. Everybody that we ask on our show, we say, in a void, what movie would you recommend to someone on the street? So you just met somebody that said, hey, what movie would you recommend I watch?
Gosh. And I can't just say Rampage?
No, I can't say Rampage. I would love it if you did, but it's like I actually thought about putting that caveat in there before. But
it depends what they're looking for. I would always, as a film guy, I've got so many favorites. And anything from Clockwork Orange to The Burbs to Robin Hood, the Disney's Robin Hood, and Oodalolly, golly, what a day.
That is the second time in a row.
Podcast in a row, yeah.
Yeah, they've recommended Robin Hood, the animated series, or the animated movie, yeah.
It's hilarious.
My granddaughter's upstairs watching it right now. I can't.
Yeah.
Roger Miller is my favorite country artist of all time who sings that.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Can't roller skate in a buffalo herd.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll look for that the crowdfunding source to come out here real soon. We're really looking for General Chaos 2 to come out, because that sounds like it'll be a good time.
Major Snafu, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And actually, if you like arcade games and you like film, in 1984, around then, right before I was doing Rampage. Whenever Dragon's Lair came out, I told one of the executives at Bally Midway that I was a filmmaker. Give me a budget, I will shoot an interactive movie that we can put in a video game. They gave me a budget. I shot a horror film in Chicago. I had just enough money for the equipment, and actors were all volunteers out of the Chicago extra community. We shot in an abandoned mental institute, 13-story abandoned mental institution that had electricity but no heat in the coldest February on record. And just as we finished editing the film, like 8 months later, Bally got out of the Laserdisc thing. And until 2017, when I was telling Doc Mack at the Galloping Ghost about it, he said, let's do a restoration. I said, I never finished the game. He's like, Brian, you still make games. So for Galloping Ghost Productions in Chicago, we did Deathstalker, The Spectre Files, which is an absolutely terrible mystery science theater quality film about a private eye who's searching for Buffy MacGuffin, the missing girl, and you get vampires and werewolves and every mad doctors, and it's ridiculous. And since the game was created, it's an arcade game. It's around the country now, and I believe it's also on Still.
Oh,
what's the word?
Steam.
Steam. It's also on Steam.
Yep.
So if you want to play an interactive, horribly funny, and I stress the horrible. That was another plug then, I guess, too. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we love that.
I'm sorry, we were signing off, but when you asked
it.
me the film question, it's like, that's a film. And it's what I did.
Yeah.
And it's what I did. It's about an hour long.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, Brian, I just got to say, we appreciate you so much coming on to the show. It is incredible to hear about your history of video games here. Again, we are passionate about video games, and to be able to talk to someone like you who is
A founding
dedicated so much to the video game success, this has just been a complete honor, man.
This has been fun. I know you're probably going to have to cut 90% of this out, but thank you for putting up with me rambling. As you can tell, I do love talking about this wonderful thing that I've got to do for the last 40 years.
No, that's
awesome.
No, you've done great, and we'll look forward to. Maybe we'll reconvene when the next game comes out, and we can talk about that one and see how that's going. Probably after we get it on PS5, so Clint and I can play it.
Fair enough. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, with that, the credits are rolling.
The lights are coming on.
And that's the end of the show.